Independent journalism at its finest. Welcome, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, and people outside the binary. This is Less Stupid with Thomas Hiura, a presentation of Humanity EUG News. Yes, reluctantly presented by Humanity EUG News. But very excited to be here today with... Introduce yourself.
I'm Mandey Chappell. I'm a mayoral candidate running in the red.
Ooh, scary. Does that inspire the hair color that you have chosen?
Actually, I told my stylist I wanted a 50s bob with a modern twist.
Okay.
So she gave me a black 50s pixie cut with a red streak.
Well, why not?
I said, okay, that works.
Well, we're doing a little reaching across the aisle here to talk and stuff, not only because we probably see the world from different political perspectives, but also because we're both running for the same race. And there are a myriad of people who are throwing themselves out there to challenge the current mayor, and I think we're excited to see that.
But could do better.
There you go. That's a great summary of it.
I met with her on Sunday, and she's a nice sweetheart.
Person. Yeah.
She's an intelligent woman, and she's got great ideas. She just doesn't seem to know how to get them done.
There you go. And honestly, I don't think that we should put people in positions where they don't have the I don't know. Maybe, a mayor too. Here's my thing. So in our experience, we see that she didn't have previous governmental experience, and maybe that probably prohibits the ability to get things done on the time that we maybe would hope.
Right.
But at the same time, I think it would be okay if she was like a more powerful kind of spiritual leader for the community.
Right.
That's what I think a mayor can do also. Because here we are in your beautiful home that you've invited me into, even though I've never met you in person.
You'd be surprised how many people I've never met have been in this kitchen.
Right on.
We have a lot of homeless people who go through the alleyway that stop at my door for food.
Sure.
We're actually well known in the homeless community for being the knock on the door and ask for food people.
Okay, right on. Well, as long as you're cool with that.
It's a way to give back to the community and take care of those who really are in a terribly vulnerable position.
Yeah.
Especially right now, a hot cup of coffee could save a freaking life.
It's definitely that window that we all have to kind of worry about, where it's not cold enough for Egan Warming Center to open up, but it's still devastatingly cold for people who don't have a place.
A total of 9 veterans have died here in Eugene since winter began. This most recent winter? Yep.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Only one of them has been recognized by the city so far.
That's fascinating. Well, I feel like I have the relative privilege of at least I have a vehicle. I've been living in a vehicle. But I'm hoping to end that soon, but I can plug into certain places and make sure that I have enough charge, and then I can, find a nice private out-of-the-way place to sleep and not be freezing cold. Like I have some level of containment,
nice.
And one thing we need to keep looking into more is kind of micro homes and ADUs, and which are accessory dwelling units for people who aren't steeped in the city of Eugene lingo.
Accessory dwelling units are amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing things.
And a lot of people who we love in the community, have these kinds of living arrangements that they carve their life out in. And it's not something that should be...
Checking the chicken.
Checking the chicken, as you do when you're
This
you're
interview
cooking.
is happening while I'm making my wife's dinner. I know, a Republican lesbian. I'm so breaking the rules.
Well, I feel like I'm breaking the rules sometimes because, especially in my young generation, there's a certain understandable progressive streak that wants to see you line up on all the issues, right? You can't be a gender justice champion unless you're a racial justice champion, unless you're a queer justice champion, And I can understand the perspective, but sometimes they pull out and they branch out so many different things. And then, with cancellation that happens sometimes, cancel culture, I think it's a little bit troubling sometimes. People get carved out to be maybe not who they really are, or
Well, it's like
people, the mob can rule a little bit on social media as well, when bad information gets passed around.
My political role model, Eisenhower, was probably my favorite Republican ever. Better than Lincoln.
And he had military experience.
It's rare. He understood the way the world worked. And he did his best to provide for those who he was in power to lead. Right. So, the way he put it was that we should be doing the most good for our nation with the least amount of tax dollars.
Sure.
And that is the very core basis of being a Republican. We now look at Republican and Democratic politics as, gay rights, abortion, this, that, the other thing. Sure. We keep adding things onto the platform. When Eisenhower really made it clear is, those things offend me, but I am not king.
Interesting.
These things offend me, but you need these rights.
Maybe a little more of a libertarian streak with regard to what government should do when people are making those kinds of decisions about their lives.
The way he ran, he
was living their lives.
He was personally liberal, but politically conservative.
Sure.
So what he believed was that people needed to have personal rights to be who they are and do what they want to do, right, as long as they're not infringing on somebody else's ability to do the same thing. And the government should make that as possible with as few of their dollars as possible.
That's one of the things that I think that I have to appreciate conservatives in Eugene for. Is they're some of the first people I see it on social media to be like, where are we getting the funding for this? Why is this tax increase happening when we haven't completed this previous project, or we don't have the city hall yet? A number of issues.
I love my fellow Eugene Republicans.
Right. That's why, and I've always been a Democrat. My father's a Democrat, but I have deep frustrations with both parties now, more than I have deep admiration for the people in the parties, which is still a lot. I still love many leaders around the community who are not Democrats, and I love many of the Democrats. But here's one of the things I appreciate what you said about what government should and shouldn't do. I think, because some people might think it's a contradiction, I have some conservative views about what the, let's say, local government should do, but I have more liberal views about what the federal government should do. For example, homelessness is an issue the federal government should have more responsibility in.
Absolutely.
And that's why one person that I appreciate a lot in the political scene, Bernie Sanders, he proposed a $2.5 billion plan to assist with, homelessness, which throughout the West Coast has become a real problem for people who are in that situation. And I don't know if I would say rash. Rash makes it sound like it's like...
Well, homelessness itself is not the fault of the people who are homeless, but it is a blight on the cities that do nothing to cure it.
And I think that we need to look at Eugene being a place to raise a family and raise youth and have safety in our community, in our parks, in our open spaces.
Yes.
And even if, because I would try, I'm experiencing homelessness, right? But I hopefully am not a person who appears intimidating in any kind of way, largely because of the privilege of me having a car. But it's like we need to do two things. We need to hopefully see these people as our neighbors, but I think there should be an understanding that, if you're in a public place that's not intended to be residential, but you're sleeping there, it's going to make it uncomfortable for some other people who don't know you and don't know that you're safe.
Exactly. I'm a bit of the devil's advocate on both sides, because I'm a fan of the signs at the 7-Elevens that say don't contribute to panhandlers here.
Interesting.
Because I worked at the Circle K that recently got bought out by 7-Eleven.
Okay. And
I was frequently, if not
I missed that Circle K on 13th and High.
God, I miss it too. That was such a good workspace.
I'm sorry. I think I maybe even bumped into you there while you were working there.
Many problems with 7-Eleven, so I chose not to come over with the company.
There you go.
I'm still best friends with my boss, though. She's an amazing woman.
Well, I was born in Japan. I have family over there, and I've visited several times. Circle K is awesome. They have many of them there. They also call 7-Eleven 7 & I Holdings. But they have a lot of interest. Yeah, but it's like the logo of 7-Eleven. It's very interesting.
Interesting.
But yeah, there's full plates of spaghetti and like good hot food you can get at the 7-Eleven in freaking Japan.
This just in, I'm moving to Japan.
And they have other convenience stores called Family Mart, which I think is just a cute name.
That's great.
So, hi. Oh, we have a camera up there, just so you know. Oh, it's on top of the refrigerator.
What do you need,
to a person
Catherine?
off screen.
This is my sister-in-law.
Oh, okay. Yep, as long as...
Hold up, we're just gonna...
Boom, go for it. It's gonna work. It's gonna work. And we're not gonna cut either. Let me ask you a question.
Ice pack should be in the door.
So,
good job.
I know... Let's get right to it early in the podcast. What qualifies you to be mayor?
What qualifies me to be mayor? An internship with my hometown's mayor as a teenager.
That's awesome.
That's where I got the first taste, if you will. I worked with Occupy San Francisco and Oakland and Chicago and New York.
Interesting.
Wall Street. I still call it Occupy New York because, well, it just doesn't make sense for theirs to be Occupy Wall Street.
I mean, I think it literally took place there. Down in the financial district.
Happened on Wall Street.
I taught just a couple blocks from where the
That's
Wall Street
amazing.
Bowl is. Yeah, I had a year of student teaching experience. It was really a wild ride.
But my whole adult life has been spent trying to better the lives of people less fortunate than myself.
Beautiful.
Up until... God, has it already been a year? Up until last year... No, year before. Holy heck. Up until a year before last, I was a trust fund baby.
Okay. Right on. Talk more about what that means.
I was raised wealthy.
Okay.
Did not know what not having what I wanted looked like. Mm-hmm. For my entire childhood, I was a spoiled brat. You know, the phrase, "Do you know who my grandpa is?" got me out of trouble.
Oh, yikes.
Got me out of legal trouble.
So your grandpa had real clout in the community then?
My grandfather had serious clout in the community. Sponsored several projects that bettered our city. Mm-hmm. His name was on everything. Mm-hmm. I mean, everything, including the rodeo.
Yeah.
And so...
So where was this? Was this in California?
Sisters, Oregon.
Oh, right on. Whoa. I love
based
Sisters.
right here in Oregon.
Oh, beautiful. Cool.
I moved to Eugene.
Almost... how many hours would that be driving?
It's 2.
It's 2, yeah.
2 hours.
Cool.
And
I love all the old-fashioned like subway sign and like, you know, the local businesses.
That's actually a law.
Yeah, that's what. It's a law.
It's also if you eat at the McDonald's, you will notice something different.
Ooh, what's
because
that?
It is illegal within sister city limits to feed your customers with anything that is not locally purchased.
Okay.
You cannot run a restaurant of any sort with outside of local ingredients.
Yeah. So you're saying it tastes different?
It tastes
noticeably
much different. Noticeably different.
Yeah.
And I'll
have to check it out next time I'm out there. My dad lived out there intermittently. He's kind of experiencing houselessness for 9 years. Yeah.
Go Outlaws.
Okay, cool. Teams.
Yes, no.
Allegiance.
The only allegiance I hold
I'm wearing an Oregon Duck hat.
The only allegiance I truly hold is to the Sisters Outlaws.
Okay.
But I'm developing an affinity for the Ducks. Cool. Whether I like it or not.
Interesting.
I'm not a huge sports fan. My daughter-in-law calls me Dad. My stepdaughter.
How does that relate to being a sports? I would think
Dad.
most dads are stereotypically more into sports.
And I, used to be the breadwinner of the house, and everybody kind of expected me to fill the paternal role in the house.
Yo, if you're doing mom duties and you're making hella money out there, you don't have time to check on all the baseball and football.
So I was just like, yeah, no. And then my wife got a really good job pumping gas.
Okay.
Just down the street, actually.
Right on. That's a pretty good wage.
Yeah, and tips are good. Tips are
right.
good. The tips are really good, actually.
I didn't even think about that.
Always tip your pump attendant.
Unless you're like me and you totally don't buy from the fossil fuel industry. Just a decision that I personally made. I sound like such a jerk. But I'm proud of it.
If we could all get out of the fossil fuel industry, the gas pumps would be filled with something different.
What do you mean filled with something different?
We would be filling them with something organic, eco-friendly.
Oh, I get what you're saying.
The gas pumps would be filled with whatever else we're putting in our...
My dad had a converted Mercedes that it was like a 2002 Mercedes that he got used. He was so sort of addicted to getting cars that were a good deal that he found somewhere, and he was a bargain hunter. My mom's a coupon cutter, and my dad's a bargain hunter. And
so that's me.
At one point we had 5 cars in our driveway, and it was only like 0.8 of them reliably worked. You know, like it was just like. Oh, it was a heck of a situation.
Heck of a situation, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I believe in tipping the service industry in general. You know,
sorry,
exhaling with joy after you just opened up the
chicken.
Oven. Yeah, for people who are just listening to this, let's say it's on their commute or something. I might just start narrating everything that happens.
Oh, go for it! Go for it!
Or we could do an ASMR thing, like I open up the cabinet.
Maybe you can hear it sizzling.
What do you want the people of Eugene?
Oh, hey, your microphone smells better.
Smells better after you stuck it in the oven. Right.
Towards the oven. Mm-hmm. I was careful not to get it into the heat because these things melt.
Right. What would you want the city of Eugene to do, like as a first legislative priority, if you were sworn in as mayor? Less than a year from now, in January of 2021. You have the power.
My very first priority would be homeless veterans. That would be my very first banner, is fulfilling my Not One Veteran promise of making sure that inside the city of Eugene, there is not one veteran who is unconsensually homeless.
Fascinating. And cool. I think one of the things that the city touts are projects that I don't want to minimize the importance of, but say that house 51 additional units, 56 additional units, and we know that it's something that has to move more quickly than that. Eugene, I was hearing the mayor of Los Angeles, I think his name's Eric Garcetti, unless I'm mixing that up with someone else entirely, but he was saying Los Angeles is a victim of its own success.
Yes.
Where they're doing very well. And economically, of course, they have a lot of booming industry, and they're the film industry, the capital of the world. But a lot of people want to be there who maybe can't afford to now with the price of rent, or, I don't know, some would say they're living beyond their means, perhaps. Yeah, it's definitely a challenge. But do you, like, as a longtime resident of Eugene, do you have, like, ideas for places where you would want new sheltering to happen, or new?
Well, we have a surplus
how do we
of
get
empty
affordable
buildings.
housing to happen?
Because
a lot of these complexes are for, like, frankly, like,
we currently have a surplus of empty buildings. And I am, just like I'm a zero food waste household. We're working
which I think is
towards
amazing.
Being a heavy recycling, low waste household.
Beautiful.
That was our new commitment now that we've gotten down to zero food waste. And I believe that we can do that with economic assets, just like buildings. We can take these buildings, we can find ways to refurbish them. If there's some sort of structural insecurity, we can find ways to cure that. And turn them into functional spaces for bedding down. And, that's the first start. Everybody gets a mailbox and a bed space.
What would you think about parking garages? I don't know why I almost did parking shelters. Parking garages being converted for evening use.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I'm a huge fan.
Okay, cool.
Huge fan.
Well then, okay. I like what you said about Eisenhower, but one of the things that, like I said, I'm frustrated with both parties in many ways. Possibly because humans are flawed, and then when they get in groups,
have you seen who the Republican candidate is? I'm frustrated.
Yeah. What, Bill Weld? Bill Weld is running. No one's going to get the nomination.
I'm actually voting Joe Walsh. So shameless Republican plug. Vote Joe Walsh. He will fix the problem.
Guitarist of the Eagles?
No.
Oh, you should vote for Henley, I guess, if you're going to go for that band.
Just sweetly named.
Okay.
But he is a really, really good candidate.
Okay. Well, how... It's like,
so you were saying you're frustrated with both parties.
Yes, and they both have seized, at least on the national level, control over the liberal and the conservative I guess, factions of the country, but we're all human beings. We're all people who, maybe we see the world more liberally on some views, on some particular issue, but not others. What I see happening, and, some people could say this is a good thing, and some people could say it's bad, is that maybe both of the parties are getting a little more extreme. So, as you see that happen, right? You just made a really, grossed out face, practically, or frustrated face. As you see that happen, I've been so frustrated with, I don't know, seeing the rhetoric from so many candidates on the Republican side, not just Trump. What keeps you in the party?
A fervent belief in the original founding concepts.
Okay.
Reduce taxation unless you have total representation of the people you're taxing. Mm-hmm. Reduce government involvement in personal livelihood. And basically take Big Brother as far away from the picture as possible. And say... Speaking of Big Brother, Trump was just thrashing Apple because Apple won't let him break into the phones of people who are possibly, he says, violent criminals. He wants Apple to allow the government to go through the phones of people who might be... Yeah, that to me is very, not even Big Brother, but scary uncle. Scary, manipulative, power-grabbing. There's nothing hardly good that the government could do. A large scale with a policy like this, they might highlight, one situation where, we use this phone and we saved, a plot from going down. But the repercussions of that are very frustrating. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
No, I'm totally embarrassed of my party's head nomination.
Mm-hmm. Have there been other Republican presidents or any kind of Republican elected officials that you especially like?
I mean,
I could rattle off Democrats that I especially love. I like AOC. I like Rashida Tlaib. I like Sherrod Brown in Ohio. I like... Gosh, who are some of the people I haven't liked anybody
since Eisenhower.
Yeah?
Not anybody since
Eisenhower. I like
Eisenhower.
Andrew Yang a whole lot.
Oh, I support him, and I believe that he's intelligent.
Yes.
I believe that he has the ability to become a cross-party candidate.
I think it'd be amazing if he ran for Congress. I hope that he runs for a House seat somewhere. It's really interesting how it works.
He's not out of the race yet.
That's true. Ooh, I hope Yang Gang doesn't get mad at me because I am Yang Gang. I'm Yang Gang.
He's not out of the race yet, and he is the fastest fundraiser in the race.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe he met the donor threshold, but not the polling threshold. But there was a whole list of polls that he got over 5% on, and they said they only needed 4, but they chose specific polls, I guess. That's what I was seeing. It's very sad that he was not able to have his voice in the debate. But I had seen a lot of people reacting and saying that he still pulled in a lot of donors that night.
Oh, yes.
And that I really hope he continues to qualify. I think that just maybe my cynicism about the system after having seen what happened with Bernie before in 2015 and 16, being an outsider candidate who even did have governmental experience. I guess that I really want to believe in Yang a ton for this round, but I also want to play the long game and say, hey, let's keep you in this conversation if this doesn't happen. And I do think that he has a better chance now of being a VP choice than probably the top of a ticket. Because I think any of the top 3 candidates, at least, maybe 4, would consider him very highly. Oh, yeah. Biden has shown interest in Yang. Warren has been reading Yang's book. Sanders says he thinks Yang brings a lot of good ideas to the table.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I need to hit the ladies' room.
Okay. All right.
Hand this back to you. I will be right
All right.
back.
I'll use this as an opportunity to keep talking on a solo portion.
Go for it. I will be right back.
Okay. All right. You're trusting me with the kitchen. So.
Don't burn it down.
Right on. This has been, I'll bring some music back in right now. This has been the first portion of my conversation with Mandey Chappell on Humanity EUG News. This is, for anybody who doesn't really know what this is that we're doing, that's because I'm a little cryptic. I blast tons of information out, but then I don't always connect all the dots between the information. I think that the news media whether we like it or not now, has to go into a more entertaining direction. And part of the way that I am bringing whatever my skill might be is into this conversation is that I try to use my quirky, maybe awkward, maybe self-deprecating, and sometimes arrogant and weird humor. Because, and I was talking to my friend the other day about this, I envision whether idiocracy is going to happen or not, we're going to start to see like presidential addresses in the White House that have like multiple camera angles. Like, boom, I point over to this part of the Oval Office where there's camera A, and I say, Republicans, we're going to take back the principles that you want of fiscal conservatism and values and collective community. And then they'll point to the other side of the Oval Office and say, liberal and Democrats, I don't know. I'm not sure about the specifics of that. But we have so many options for where to get our information now, and a lot of people, by and large, maybe because they're exhausted by mainstream news media and the way they cover things, or any other reasons why they would maybe just not want to keep paying attention to the darkness of constant news, they get their information from comedic sources. A lot of people get like comedy politics now, you know what I mean? Like The Daily Show.
Oh yes, I'm guilty.
Well, I really like a lot of those shows, but I'll be honest. It's like the Colbert constantly railing on Trump and clowning on him for, like body shaming and like all sorts of ad hominem stuff. Seth Meyers goes after his looks all the time. I don't know if that really helps.
If
it's
Trump
comedy,
wouldn't brag
and I
about
like comedy.
his body so often, maybe we'd stop going after it.
He is the first person to talk about a certain part of his anatomy on a debate stage
Just saying.
in all of history. So, yeah. But even then, it's very toxic. Marco Rubio was the person who started that.
You Photoshop your body onto a professional wrestler, I'm going to make fun of how you look in person.
He shares a lot of very questionable things on Twitter. Hey, I saw a congressperson who shared a photo of Obama supposedly with an Iranian leader who the guy had never met. You saw that?
I did, and I railed into them.
Very fucked up.
Yeah.
Because, and I wonder how we can like penalize or punish or prohibit that kind of behavior, because especially with where deep fakes is going to get, you don't think so, huh? Because I put this out as a poll on my Humanity EUG Instagram, and I asked people, because I showed them that image, and I showed them what happened and the reporting on it.
This is what happens when we do baking and interviewing.
Sure is.
Leaning backwards to the mic.
Right.
Woo-hoo!
Well, almost everybody, including somebody who ran for president in this cycle and dropped out, Ben Glebe, they all said, yeah, we should penalize this behavior. We should not just allow it as First Amendment. But I don't know. If
it doesn't incite violence in a real way, like does not actually say go do violence, people, it is not against the First Amendment.
Sure.
Oh, that's nice and crunchy skin. It is still raw on the bottom. All right. I'm making chicken, if you hadn't noticed.
Right on. Well, what else would I want to ask you? Are there more things that you want to get out there into the public in terms of who you are? And you had said that you wanted to get more publicity for your campaign. What's your message? Do you have a slogan?
Be about it.
Be about it.
Mm-hmm. My wife's motto is don't talk about it, be about it.
Yup. I literally said that to Mayor Venice at the last city council meeting. I said in the hip-hop community, we often say, don't talk about it, be about it. Because I think about a guy named Sway from Shady 45. Sway in the morning. I'm a hip-hop person. I love the culture of hip-hop. Kind of a guest in the house. As Lord Jamar said, I kind of agreed with that. Even though he's problematic. Yeah. Anyway, be about it.
Yes, be about it. It just is a... It's, how do I want to put this? I do something with myself and my campaign money instead of making promises. 1 out of every $2, so 50% of all my campaign money, is going into programs like shelter care and St. Vincent de Paul's, specifically their veterans program, is going into research for better student diets, is going into putting families in homes, and is going into these programs that better Eugene as a whole.
Right.
And when I am not swamped with graffiti removal and being a mom and being a babysitter to 3 feral children, I love them. I love your children, Nikki.
That is quite a word to describe your own kin.
Oh, no. Nikki's kids are just amazing kids that are sometimes feral. But they're 1, 2, and 3, so they're allowed to be feral on occasion.
That's true. Yeah, you become a human
later.
At like 4.
You gonna flip over for me? Give me
now
nice?
I'm imagining in the 2040s is it gonna be considered problematic to talk crap about feral humans because it's a real population of people that exist. They're very marginalized people. I've seen TV specials about like young kids who get socialized with dogs.
Yep.
So that's a wild world that we live in.
No,
so many different experiences.
I quite enjoy that.
That's why I hate
friends
when stuff
who
gets
you would
boiled down
consider
so quickly.
feral.
Yeah.
I have friends you would consider part of the feral humanity center.
Interesting.
They just never really encountered social normatives until they were late into adulthood and now have no regard for such and just kind of live.
Yeah.
And I think it's beautiful, even though I was, golden spoon raised and, sit with my elbows off the dinner table and try not to curse. And unless I'm in like very private settings, then I curse like a sailor.
Right.
Like any good housewife. Wait till all the company's gone and then cuss everything out.
Well, I sailed a little bit for a science program, and it was incredible because I had never been at sea. And what our captain, Sean Burkov, the SSV Corwith Kramer, said was, you know what's the difference between a fairy tale and a sea story? A fairy tale starts with once upon a time, and a sea story starts with this is no shit. It's true. You got it.
That's great.
I also like another community of people besides sailors who talk really plainly and are forward, which I think needs to happen. I think I didn't quite finish a thought earlier about like what really does frustrate me about my liberal friends and people who are more liberal than me.
I was trying to get back to that.
Right, because sometimes I trail off because I'm trying to host a podcast and I don't know.
Oh no, it's a conversation happening naturally.
Straight up.
Sorry, I'm
Scary.
Very sarcastic. I'm a very sarcastic mom.
You gotta be.
There are times in my house where there are 6 children under the age of 10 here. Right. I'm sarcastic.
Well, the thing that frustrates me about some of my most progressive friends is that on some level, free speech as an issue, I think, is something that used to be considered a progressive thing, rightfully. Free speech is a progressive thing, I think, because I think if people say things that are fucked up and problematic, we should challenge them on the battleground of ideas as much as possible.
Absolutely.
Like you said, if it's not inciting violence, and meet them there and meet it with more speech, rather than censoring or removing or taking that completely out of the dialogue. Because honestly, I think the unfortunate reality for some of these people on Twitter who think that they're being really on Twitter or anywhere, who think that they're really making change by being kind of the woke police, is that you're actually pushing moderate people more to the right. I think that happens a lot.
And
I'm a mixed race person,
democratic behavior is part
I just
of
see
why
both sides of anything where there's 2 sides, and then I want to see a third and a fourth side.
It's like when I was with Occupy, I was like fervently liberal.
Okay, right on.
Like I was all about Obama.
But were you still a Republican?
No, no, I was registered Democrat.
Cool.
I was all about Obama. I was 18.
Okay.
And being liberal was the cool thing to do in San Francisco.
Just sexy. Let's be honest.
I'm a lesbian and he's hot.
Not the most like, hey, I have a really ambitious policy agenda that once I'm in office, I'm going to start ramming through. But pretty sexy person. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm
glad he was president. Yeah.
I had a problem with the Affordable Care Act, but was glad to see something that moderately resembled what we need in place.
Well, I would love to maybe talk about healthcare a little bit, because that's an issue where I think that local communities pick up the burden of these people who don't have the appropriate healthcare, mental healthcare and physical healthcare of all kinds. That a country, I think, should. Whether you think the government should directly provide that kind of quality of healthcare to everyone, or you just think that we should live in a status quo where people really are healthy, like there are private insurance options that are affordable and blah blah blah, inclusive, etc. However,
I got a chicken heart for you.
I think
good boy.
that we should have a national healthcare system, at the very least, a public option. But
there's a chicken heart for you. Out.
The thing with Medicare for All that I think is a beautiful idea, and we probably deeply disagree about this, is that everybody is bought into the system. So everybody then has a say in hey, let's make sure that this gets funded properly and gets out to people properly. Right now, what Bernie Sanders talks about, and I credit him for it, is that it's an administrative nightmare to have thousands of different private insurance sort of healthcare packages that people have and have to sort between and maybe can't access. So what do you think about what the government can do? What's your problem with the Affordable Care Act?
I feel like the paying a fine if you miss 1 month of being insured cripples more people than it helps. That sounds
like your "Don't Tread on Me" is coming out.
Yeah, it cripples Americans rather than helping them. Because poor people who the impoverished, who this act was supposed to help, are only going to be further injured by that kind of fining. I'm not sure why that
compulsion was put in there in that way, and I don't know what the number of the tax was, like the percent. But two of the things that I think the ACA did that were great: allowed people to stay on their parents' health plan until they're 26.
Yep.
And then eliminated the pre-existing condition BS, where you got people that, gosh, can you imagine? I don't know if I have a pre-existing condition now, depending on what's considered a condition, but it's like, if you have one of those back in that era, what does it mean to be told by your country, by the system that's supposed to take care of you? It's almost like you're broken. It's invalidating of you as a person if you can't find basic health coverage because of a pre-existing condition. I had a friend, Steve Romanesco.
No teeth on the cords if you're up with me.
Yeah, the dog is... I was wondering if we would get the dog into the shot.
This is Buddy.
If you've seen the videos I sent you, the aspect ratio is pretty slim. There's not a lot of headroom.
Yeah. This is Buddy. He's my family service dog at this point. He's too young to be specialized to one of us, so he kind of alerts to everybody.
He's a real sweetie. I think he likes you, and I think he's scoping me out a little bit and not convinced. It's like, this person ain't got what it takes to be mayor. Well, okay, here's something wild that I was thinking about, because something you said to me is that, you believe we should have a new mayor, and you believe that even if, let's say, you end up choosing not to run, or, you are not one of the top two in the May ballot, you think we should try to unite and work.
I do. I believe that
rally around whoever.
I believe that in order to replace our current candidate with somebody who is gonna get the jobs that we need done, we need to rally around whoever ends up in the lead. Mm-hmm. Like, if you came out on top, all right, cool. I'd be on your bandwagon.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. I hope it happens.
You get the majority vote, but I'm on your bandwagon.
How amazing would it be if, 3 or 4 people got really sizable chunks of the electorate? I think that'd be beautiful. I think that'd be cool. Yeah. Because in 2016, they only had the May ballot, and there are only 2 candidates who got more than 3,000 votes.
Yeah.
But I think that we have, a lot of different voices and a lot of excitement.
Right.
So that's cool. But, this is... Sometimes I'm a big dreaming kind of thinker. And, how could we really, in a utopian way, almost? Or, without knowing that the structure is really rigid, what could we do to make a better system? I don't know why there needs to be one mayor, I think it'd be amazing if we had like a vice mayor.
Yes.
Like I'm not talking about an oligarchy, but I'm just saying like how symbolically cool is it when you got two people working together as the leaders? Because right now we have the city council president, but frankly,
or the city manager
and the city manager, which has way more power in terms of the day-to-day brass tacks of what the city of Eugene does.
Honestly, mayoral power is power to make people feel guilty about not doing what you want them to do.
Mm-hmm. And we have what's called a weak mayor system, and and so you know that it's a largely symbolic. I keep wanting to say the word spiritual, but that has a religious connotation, and I'm not sure it should. But really, it's like an inspirational leader that we need, and that's why I'm really I'm glad we met, and I'm glad that when I came, you're just a personable person.
I'm a human.
Yeah.
I do human things.
Yes. Eugene, I want to see. You were talking about you're in every woman.
Yes.
Here we are in the kitchen. And
inside my house, I'm your typical. I'm very much women's issues.
Mm-hmm.
I take care of the kids. I take care of the cooking. Mm-hmm. I try to do the chores. Mm-hmm. I do have myofascial pain syndrome.
Okay.
Which is like the precursor to fibromyalgia, which makes it sometimes really hard to do my job.
Okay. That's
real. But I
real.
try to keep after it. But I'm a homemaker, and I like that place in my life.
Yeah.
But I feel like women like me aren't getting a voice.
Okay. Yeah.
I feel like women like me, are being underrepresented, because I call them feminazis, but...
Yikes. Well, when you say that, I just think of Rush Limbaugh, and maybe... okay, I'm not going to say that I've never listened to Rush Limbaugh. I listen to these people. Yes. And that's another thing. Like, it sucks because in the attention economy, sometimes you actually are giving them a little bit, of your resource, your time. And I don't like to spend time listening to stuff that I disagree with. But, I deeply believe... part of the mission of this Humanity Eugene News thing is be a well-informed person by seeking out for yourself where different sources are covering just about any story. It's hard to say that you have an excuse not to nowadays with all the technology we have. I don't think there really are... I have a friend who runs a podcast called Conservatish with Peter Feliciano. He's from the Bay Area, and and I've gone on it twice, and... He's very anti-PC culture is one of his biggest things. And, he basically, in his words, he says he thinks abortion is kind of sketchy and he likes guns. But he always grew up in a culture, in his music community in the Bay Area, whereas like the spectrum is like you are by default either, kind of old school liberal or you're super progressive liberal. And people are erased from the conversation if they're not in that. And so... that's something that I try to do. You're one of the first people that is conservative that I'm doing this show with, but I want to have tons more.
But it's on a level of I have been disinvited from several feminist activities because of my preference for being a homemaker.
Okay. Meaning that you don't have a day job, like you don't.
I don't have a day job right now.
On.
I like to think of myself as Mrs. Banks, really.
Is that... Wow. I mean, I'm sure...
I like being a homemaker.
But because you were a homemaker, I keep sighing into the mic because I'm devastated at the idea that you would be excluded from these groups because you're doing that with your life. That's not being liberated.
They think that I am rejecting women's rights, is what I get from a lot of my feminist friends, is that... I am not partaking in the modern society by breaking off of the way that we did back in the 50s, which is my favorite era. But then again, my motto is frequently seen on the internet. I want my gay married neighbors to be able to protect their marijuana plants with guns. Wait. No.
I think I've seen that on like a sticker in Spencer Gifts.
Yes.
Okay.
I just want my gay married neighbors to be able to protect their cannabis plants with guns.
Right on.
I believe that the government needs to get the hell out of our business.
Mm-hmm. Well, I meant to say at the beginning, but I tried to change up my intro, and I keep adding too many things because that's the way my brain works. That this is a show that's completely uncut, uncensored, and unfazed that I'm with somebody who says that she packs heat. Because we were thinking about doing this interview in my car in a parking garage.
Yes.
And I love that. That's the kind of get after it spirit we need in the city of Eugene,
and that's where I am with being modern, is understanding modern issues is... Unfortunately, right now, our city's not a safe place. Right now, it is, I don't take my kids downtown. I don't go out and do things downtown. I go to Springfield. And that's one of the things that breaks my heart because I moved to the city 8 years ago.
I think Mayor Lundberg has done an incredible job in downtown Springfield. She has made that a destination that is inclusive to such a wide variety of people.
Oh, yeah. But I need to get my kid ready for bed.
Okay.
So...
Well, let me ask you the final question then.
All right.
What's one way that we could all be less stupid?
One way we could all be less stupid. I'm a curse. Pull the motherfucking cotton out of your goddamn ears and listen to other people.
I have nothing more to say. Where can people find you if you want people to
I am
follow up with you?
Mandey for Mayor 2020 on Facebook, and the attached Mandey, Mandey Chappell, Chappell on Facebook. I will not accept your friend request until after I've messaged with you, but I will accept a message request.
There we go. I like that little threshold there that people can get in, but you don't have to accept.
Do not friend request me until you have gotten to know me. Because though I'm very out in the public, my life is also a little private.
There you go. I'm glad. So no campaign website?
No, okay. I can't afford a domain name.
Oh, no. Okay.
So I'm working through Facebook.
Okay. Yeah.
Facebook and getting noticed by KEZI.
Right on. That was pretty cool.
Yep.
Well, listen, how fun would it be if you and I ended up as the top two and we ran off against each other in November and
that
our names were on the ballot next to all the main head honchos? It's been a pleasure.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
We are signing off. Peace.
Bye.